Hi, this is Peggy Mariner with Cloverleaf, and today I wanted to talk about how to create a sense of belonging at your work. Belonging can be kind of a squishy word. What does it even mean? It's often coupled with diversity, equity, inclusion. Let's just take a moment to do some definitions. Well, diversity is about hiring that represents your population at large, whether that is global or otherwise. Inclusion is about the behaviors and practices that you employ to try to create a sense or feeling of belonging, trust, authenticity. Belonging is an outcome of inclusion, but inclusion is the actions where belonging is actually a feeling. So when you are thinking about, gosh, what is belonging? Some people describe it as security, support, acceptance, but we're going to go ahead with what Sherm defines belonging, which is taking DE&I a step further to examine how individuals feel as they engage with the rest of the organization. It is a mental and emotional state of feeling seen, valued, and supported based on a person's uniqueness. So this is a feeling of, some might call it connection too, being seen, valued, and supported. If you think that this is just a trendy HR buzzword, this is also a fundamental human need defined in attachment theory. One of the things that is a little challenging is that we are dealing with someone's feelings, their perception, their relationship with the organization, and that can be challenging, but the stakes are high. Harvard Business Review had some shocking stats. Workers who feel belonging, get this, they increase their job performance by 56%. They reduce turnover by 50%, and they use 75% fewer sick days. So if you added that up in a 10,000 person organization, that's $52 million annually. So if you're trying to build a budget or a business case for your investments about organizational culture improvements or shifts, there you go. You have it. So belonging is about feeling seen, valued, and supported. And being seen is like acknowledging people's uniqueness, what you see in them. And Cloverleaf gives you a lot of words to do this. In fact, we even email them to you. Here's an example of how I used a coach tip to see and acknowledge the uniqueness of one of my teammates. I got the tip, Alex, whose strength is creativity, is well suited to identify the top challenges facing the team and then use creativity to address them. I see this all the time in him. This is also something that's regularly a part of our conversation. What are the top challenges? So that phrase is common in our relationship, and I just posted it and said, top challenges, Alex. And he replied and said, so many challenges, so many opportunities. And that was just an acknowledgement. It doesn't have to be big work. Took less than 15 seconds and it was handled. When you move on from seeing them to valuing them, that is saying that uniqueness that I acknowledged, I see it and I also appreciate it. In order for people to feel belonging, they need valued with their contributions from their unique perspective. So not just seen, their perspective, which they are the only ones to live in their body and experience what they experience, what they offer from that place, it's appreciated. You can affirm where you have seen it, how it's benefited the team, why you're thankful for it. And I have an example when Kirsten affirmed one of my teammates, Adam, his courage to bring big change, improve efficiency, and drive innovation. He got that tip that she received in her email, posted on our common Slack channel. And Adam's also an extrovert, so when she praised him, he was so happy to receive that public affirmation. So you see, you value, and now you can support your teammates. Supporting your employees is like making room to grow the parts of them, the unique parts that you have seen, you have communicated appreciation for, and make it something that gets invested in as you move forward through a project or a role. It can even be like a smaller commitment where you give them an hour every week or every other week to have space on their calendar to form a habit around leveraging that strength. I have a story about this one. So if you looked at my Clifton strengths, my top 5 are activator. I love to get things started, love movement and getting to take action, positivity, connectedness, which is where we all belong to each other. I love the back and forth exchange and greater purpose behind relationships, communication with others, and also context, understanding how it is we got to this point. What is the story behind the story? I got offered a project to run user interviews to better understand our clients, to take it from kickoff, run the interviews, data synthesis for the purpose of getting to improve our product with a better understanding of the greatest needs of this user segment. We got to make our product better for the changing lives of our users, and it just enlivened every one of my top 5 strengths. Meeting with people, understanding their deeper needs, getting to do something that built a better future for our users and our product. I felt so much purpose and enthusiasm and energy around that work. My uniqueness was seen, it was valued by my team, and I was given this opportunity to support what the product and the organization were doing, but it was because I was supported in what my strengths were. So my greatest talents got to be used in my work, and it was unbelievably fulfilling. So when I think about getting to experience more of that work, I do feel a ton of belonging. And I also feel a ton of energy and engagement around that. What if your people got to say things like that? Because it felt pretty great to talk about. But how, you ask? How do I create engagement and belonging in my organization? Well, you can start with yourself. You can begin with little actions. You may already be amazing at what I'm about to say. In fact, these activities, they might even be deeply meaningful for you and you're energized by them, but they're not natural for everyone. So let's talk about the sense of belonging where people are seen, valued, supported in the smallest ways. So let's talk about building a sense of belonging for yourself when maybe you're not influencing a whole organization, it's just you. You can do it with a simple first impression. When you are meeting somebody, smile. Make eye contact, be fully present. It doesn't have to be just another handshake or a number or get people through. You can acknowledge that they are a whole person worthy of your time in that moment. I actually feel this personally because I am strong in dominance in DISC. I'm also a J on the 16 types, and my activator is the number 1 strength. All of those traits love to get things done. And when those traits are let loose, I don't want to stop achieving and doing to slow down and be present. I want to check more boxes off of that list. I want to move. But I also value people, and I want to reflect back to others what their inherent value is. If I'm not thoughtful, I could reinforce isolation and exclusion on my team. And I don't want to do that, but I have to be thoughtful about my highest values, that I do want to appreciate people over accomplishment. I need to be conscious of my internal tendencies so that I can be present when I'm meeting people, so I can make the eye contact. For many personalities, this concept of creating space for feelings, this belonging feeling of value and authenticity, that's a totally foreign concept. It's almost like they don't even speak that language. The currency that they trade in may be task-oriented, not people-oriented. And if that's the case, I just gave an example of how I experienced the conflict of that, of task versus people. And I have a pull one direction, and I have to be conscious to rein it in, to be present for the other driving force. But some people do not have that other driving force trained and at the ready. And if that's the case, the conversation for that people group is that we have another way of being. You can experience the world through this people lens. You can experience the world through this lens where there is feelings of value, of authenticity, of connection, where you can see people, support them, acknowledge what is good about them. But the conversation first begins with the possibility that could exist in the world. Then there's value in that other way of existing. And they can be open to it, and possibly it might just make their lives better. So assuming that people all understand and agree to the value of belonging, even though we have data to prove it really does drive significant impact, sometimes you need to have an education process and you need to take people on a journey that feelings can drive change in the world. And it could actually increase the task execution and the productivity that maybe that task-oriented team member is looking for. If you're worried that you don't have belonging in your organization and maybe you are experiencing isolation or you're observing it, I've got good news. It can be corrected. You can begin with conversations. Ways to correct this trajectory is you can get an employee's perspective. Ask them how they felt when they experienced exclusion or isolation. And how did they endure? How did they cope? How did they get through that? Then you can learn from it. Ask them how, if they were in that situation again or observing it, how they would coach somebody who's going through that. And then you can support and empower that employee to think of the change that they would want to see and what's a strategy you could get there. Make a plan for how they would execute on that. This belonging, being seen, valued, supported, it involves our interactions, the way we communicate with each other and engage each other. And as an easy starting point, you can simply talk to a teammate. You can begin this process by getting feedback on an employee's experience, their perspective, if they've ever experienced exclusion or isolation, and how they manage through it. Understanding how you can take your people development and match that up with a business critical issue so that your team can be unleashed to do their best work. Creating a sense of belonging in your workplace can feel sometimes like it's hippy-dippy or out in the ether. Maybe you don't fully know if it's really that important. I don't know how to do it. I'm not even sure how to measure it. Does it even matter? Our desire as people to give and receive, to belong to each other, to have attachments to each other is a powerful and primal motivator. And I think about how belonging has impacted me. I love working at Cloverleaf. I feel a ton of belonging, very proud of the work that we do here. And I also love being a part of the organization. I love getting to associate myself with it. But I also love being associated with my teammates. I love the encouragement that I receive. I love getting to work with such smart and wholehearted people, and I am proud of that. I am also appreciated for the things that are different about me, which for some situations in my life, I've been given the feedback it's too much. And I totally appreciate that. But it's actually not too much. And it is some of the best parts of me is my enthusiasm and my ambition and my love of others. But those things are appreciated here, and they're not told to go away or to keep it outside of the office, and there are even ways that I get to use it inside of my work. I think about the belonging and ownership and appreciation that I have now, and that I have experienced it in large group settings a number of times. Sometimes it's been in my faith community. It's also been in athletics. But one of the first times I felt total isolation and exclusion was junior high. It was school. So if you are thinking, gosh, I don't know if there is any value to creating a sense of belonging, I just want you to revisit your junior high years and think about what it felt like if you didn't have that belonging and you did have to experience exclusion and isolation inside of your classrooms all day long. And if you did have a squad that connected with you and that held you and that could give and receive with you, they saw who you were, they thought your quirks were fun and funny, and they appreciated your jokes or encouraged you at the new things you were trying. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about the acknowledgement you received as being lovable, as being worthy, as being seen as a valuable human being. That is what we're trying to create when we go after a sense of belonging.
Let us know in the comments which part of this video helped you the most, and be sure to grab your free guide that's linked in the description. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.